Leyva playing Azorius aggro. We had Juan Leyva on camera earlier in the tournament, and he really put on a show, beating Jonathan Job handily. Let's see if he can replicate that success against Drake Sasser here on the SCG Tour.
Was watching last round as I was tracking the backup feature match. Juan lost a close match to Tannen Grace. Very close three-game set here. That win has propelled Tannen into the top 8. Juan here now battling out. The top of the tiebreakers among the exit 3 is a win here, and he's good.
Yeah, as you can see, Healer's Hawk here, the first turn play for Juan Leyva. He's using that to leverage Johnny's Pride Mate as his primary 2-drop.
Yeah, a little throwback here to Luis Scott Vargas's Pro Tour runner-up deck from the last Standard PT, doing the Johnny Pride Mate plus lifelink thing.
Yeah, Adonto Vanguard, Johnny's Pride Mate, these are cards that can get out of range of Gates Ablaze. Those are going to be where Juan is really leaning on in this match. Drake Sasser just a pair of Guild Gates, and that is not uncommon from his side of things. Nothing really gets started until turn 3, 4, 5.
And Adonto Vanguard, really important in this kind of matchup, both as just a very good amount of pressure on its own for the mana cost and a hard threat for Sasser to answer.
Yeah, and of course here, Sasser taking the 4 points of damage from the attack. Leyva going up to 22 from that lifelink, and leads with a History of Benalia, generating that Knight token and pushing for Chapter 3 pretty soon. Sasser untaps, takes a draw. Gates Ablaze would take care of the Knight and the Healer's Hawk if he has it. Decides to go with a Guild Summit, but he's tapped out. No advantage off it just yet.
Remains to be seen here if Sasser is still on the hunt here for a Gates Ablaze, or if he's trying to get Chapter 2 of History of Benalia for his trouble.
Yeah, definitely important to note, because if Gates Ablaze doesn't clear off all of these Knights, there's a chance that Drake Sasser's in a lot of trouble. That Guild Summit could draw him into it, though, if he has a Guild Gate to play. He does draw a card. Juan here continually deploying threats to the battlefield, including the Knight and Dauntless Bodyguard, putting up a protection shield against one of the Knight tokens, as well as generating another History of Benalia.
Really good setup here for Leyva. Even Sasser fires back with Gates Ablaze here. He's going to be able to keep the Adonto Vanguard. He can protect the Knight token as well, with History of Benalia threatening to get to Chapter 3 next turn.
Right, and the Indestructible on the Adonto Vanguard, as well as the Dauntless Bodyguard giving it to him. The Chapter 3 is going to pump that Knight up to 4. With the Adonto Vanguard, 3 is going to be 7. It's not enough. He doesn't have the Gates Ablaze. Drake Sasser packs it in, and you can see those lands entering the battlefield tap just too slow to keep up with Azorius aggro.
Yep, and these are sort of my take on the format right now. Is I'm interested in playing with either Search for His Kanta or trying to win the game on turn number 4. Leyva doing the latter, it successfully pulls it off in game 1.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that little side eye from Juan Leyva, but it was like, that was easy.
Yeah.
Guild Gates?
Guild
Are you
Gates?
kidding me?
So, all right, Guild Summit. So, on your 4th turn, you're going to draw a card, maybe?
Nice.
All right, I'll kill you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the lower end of the strength of the Nexus of Gates deck that we've seen quite a bit this weekend. This Nexus of Gates deck really relies on the opponent giving them enough time to really start comboing off with things like Guild Summit. If they don't draw Gates Ablaze, there's a chance that they just get absolutely run over, and you saw that happen right there.
All right, now heading to the sideboard here.
Yeah, in the sideboard here, let's take a look at Drake Sasser sideboard and see what he's going to do. We got 4 copies of Gatebreaker Ram, 4 Negate, 3 Archway Angel, 2 Lava Coil, and 2 Nimizit. Patrick, what do you like? I
like bringing in the 7 creatures here, a little bit of blocking here, and assuming that Leyva's cutting a lot of his anti-creature measures, then you can win the game with the Ram. The Angel, very impactful in this kind of matchup, gains a lot of life. The 2 Lava Coils as well, pretty easy to bring in.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think he's probably going to be cutting things like Expansion, Explosion. You know, he's going to start cutting the combo aspects of his deck and just play like a more normal style game plan and really rely on Gatebreaker Ram and Archway Angel to take it down.
Yeah, it's interesting because Sasser's deck has so much in the way of big payoffs here. You know, you have Hydroid Krasis, Wilderness Reclamation,
right,
Expansion, Explosion. You can't cut all this stuff,
right,
so he's still going to have the top end, and you probably want to get away from Spell Pierce in this matchup too. Maybe not. There's a couple targets, but you may want to get away from it. So he's going to leave in a little bit of the top end, but I think you're right. To de-emphasize that, be more about creatures, lower the curve a little bit, win that way.
Yeah, and being about creatures is also pretty important in this matchup because the Azorius aggro deck's likely boarding in some number of negates. You can see 2 in Juan Leyva's sideboard, as well as a Spell Pierce. So going Gatebreaker Rim, Archway Angel, these are cards that are unaffected by that. Yeah. And that's a very good transition.
So the 3 anti-spell cards are probably easy to bring in here. If you respect the possibility of Gatebreaker Ram, you may want to go to Baffling End as well. That card is just extremely large for the mana cost, and if Leyva is cutting a lot of the anti-creature stuff, that card on its own can really halt his offense. So if you respect that possibility, you probably want to bring in some Baffling Ends. Yeah,
notably, Hydroid Krasis is also only a 2 converted mana cost when it's on the battlefield, so Baffling End can take care of that too. Aside from that, Takali Honor Guard, I don't think that's really going to do it here. What do you think about Dovin Grand Arbiter? Is that something you might want here just because Gates Ablaze, you just need something to help rebuild or fight through it?
So I think my perspective is the burden of proof is so high on bringing in the blue cards because you don't have your blue mana all the time that you have to be sure it's going to be good. I think the counter spells are above the line for that reason. Dovin is slow. Even if you get hit with Gates Ablaze, it can help you rebuild a little bit, but it is extremely slow at doing that. And if it was a mono white card, I still would be kind of on the fence about it. The fact that it requires blue mana here, I would leave it in the sideboard.
All right. If you're a fan of Magic the Gathering, you wouldn't be here. And because you're a fan of the Magic the Gathering, you need to head over to go.starcgames.com/sale and take a look at all the great deals we have. Resets every Monday, and we have a whole host of new cards that you can peruse for your buying pleasure. Patrick, do you ever do that? Because I want to go get an Unhinged Plains after this round. I love Unhinged Lands.
Star City Games has multiple times had to change their overall policies on sales and related things because of me arbitraging them. So yes, I have, and you can head over. Maybe you can be the next one. Who knows? Yep. Take some time, but it could be worth the effort. There are some leaks in the ship over at go.starcgames.com/sale.
If you want to be an MTG finance guy, maybe that's your starting point right there.
Oh, yeah,
you just find the rare that's going to break out in Modern that's only 50 cents on the sale, normally $1, and you break the bank.
It's a rich family history. My father, on top of other work over his life, was a buyer and seller of antique firearms, hunting rifles and such.
Oh, wow.
So back in the pre-internet era, I believe it was Cabela's was the store. Yep. They were all localized. There wasn't kind of a national, or maybe there were. Maybe this was early internet.
Cabela's is still around.
So they didn't have one website with everything.
Yeah.
You could go to there was a Cincinnati had its own store, and Dallas had its own store, and so on down the line. And he would wake up in the morning and arbitrage their buy-sell list. So he would find a store in Cincinnati that was selling a rifle for $5,000 and find another Cabela's in Dallas that was buying that rifle for $6,000 and just flip it. And eventually Cabela's reached out to my father and said, we need you to stop. They negotiated a buyout of some sort.
Yeah.
So it's a long Sullivan tradition of doing this sort of thing. I am not much into the buying and selling of firearms, but Magic cards, much more so.
I saw you pay quite a large sum of money once for, what was it, not a candelabra, one of those old Legends cards that Tabernacle. Yeah. Didn't you buy a Tabernacle a few years back?
I'm sure I did.
Yeah, and it spiked tremendously in value, sir. So it sounds like those Sullivan jeans.
Sounds like something I would have done. Do you know how many Raphaelis' gifts I own?
I do not.
Gifts of Roflo?
I do not.
So my coworker Conley Woods is very big on this card as a potential popper breakout.
Sure.
And that makes sense. I can see. It's also 1 mana, and the history of 1 mana spells. If you had a portfolio that was nothing but 1 mana spells over Magic's lifetime, you'd be rich. So I have hundreds. I have hundreds of foil copies. I'm just waiting.
Okay.
My inventory, it's all over the place.
You're just waiting for that live popper MCQ
something
to you want to see the deck list to get posted on StarCGames.com.
A tweet from the professor, something.
Yes,
I'm waiting. When it happens,
is the nuts.
When it happens, you'll know.
Yeah,
you'll know because I will not do this anymore. I'll be so rich.
Looks like both players have mulligan here. Drake on 6. Looks like Juan Leyva is all the way down to 5 cards. It's a pretty tough start, but we've seen this Azorius aggro deck win on 5 cards already once today.
Hundreds of foil copies of this card. Hundreds.
Reveal any number of green cards in your hand. Return an enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand for each card revealed
This
this
is
way.
a bizarre common.
What? How do you even abuse this?
I don't know. It's 1 mana. If you're drawing a lot of cards, doing some enchantress thing. I don't know. I'm just saying that I'm ready for it.
All right, we got a turn 1 play here. Leon and Vanguard. Is that Leon and Vanguard? No, that's not it, is it?
That's the Vanguard. You
I
got
got it right. Okay, Leon and Vanguard. That just sounds like a different card name in my brain for some reason. Leon and Vanguard on 1, followed by Dawn of Vanguard on 2. We got Drake Sasser leading with Guildgate Island into Growth Spiral. That's going to ramp him up. He could potentially play a powerful spell here on turn 3. Let's see what he's got.
Yeah, not a great spot here for Gates of Blaze. Doesn't get a whole lot there.
Right.
Not a bad spot for the Ram, however.
Yeah, Ram is starts at a 2/2. It gets +1/+1 for each gate you control. It is one of the better sideboard options for this Nexus of Gates decks. You know, most of the gate-based decks we've seen thus far have put an emphasis on these creatures in the main deck. But as we see time and time again, removal spells are aplenty out of a lot of decks in Standard. And these creatures like the Gatebreaker Ram get so much better after sideboard when your opponent doesn't suspect that you have them in your 75.
Exactly. Game 1, everyone's got Terminates. Game 2, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But you kind of make them play around everything. I mean, we're talking about Juan Leyva having to maybe bring in Baffling in for this matchup. Not a card he really wants to draw.
Right.
But if he fails to test against Gatebreaker Ram, as we're seeing right now, it's just moat, and there's no attacks on the ground to be had.
Yeah, and it's a super sweet card, too, because it allows you to both put pressure on your opponent by attacking, but also plays defense with Vigilance. They can't even chump block it because it has Trample. Gatebreaker Ram really does it all, and it's one of the most potent sideboard options that Drake Sasser in this Nexus of Gate deck has to offer.
Can also shorten the length of the game, too, which is another thing that Sasser could be interested in. You know, obviously he has an advantage as the game goes on for a long time, but, you know, you don't want to try to hold on forever, and Gatebreaker Ram really speeds things up.
Yeah, because it starts at 2 power and gets +1 for each gate, there's also the synergy with Gates of Blaze that it will never die to your own spell. And when you have payoff cards in your deck, you always want them to work well together. Now, a Vigilance attack here for Drake Sasser leaves Juan at 14. 7/7 Gatebreaker Ram is looming. He needs to find an answer quick.
Yeah. And if this gets to the point where Leyva has to put everything in front to try to trade off, that's a win for Sasser, too, because if he has that kind of cushion, he's going to easily leverage whatever powerful cards are left in his deck. Who knows when he sideboarded out.
Right.
Any of them will play.
Right, and that's basically the only thing he's trying to do each game is to get enough time to start casting multiple of those big payoff spells, whether it's Hydroid Krasis, Nexus of Fate, things like that. With Gatebreaker Ram, even a single Nexus of Fate represents 14 damage.
Yeah.
Banalish Marshall, the play here to go along with the second chapter of History, Benalia, as well as a second Leon and Vanguard. And Juan Leyva's building up quite a large battlefield. Drake Sasser is going to need a way to clear this out. There's a chance he just gets overrun on the following turn.
Yeah, I mean, Leyva's trying to go wide here. I think last turn was probably not a good spot to make an attack here. I think Leyva very wisely held back. One, because he wants to complicate things for Sasser here. Sasser attacks with the Gatebreaker Ram. Leyva can cobble together a block here that leaves him with some stuff. So if Sasser's paralyzed from attacking, next turn you get to untap. Chapter 3 of History of Benalia goes off, and you can start going wide and make some inroads and maybe get this game over with over the course of 2 turns.
Yeah, Drake here kind of posturing, figuring out how Juan Leyva could potentially block. The Gatebreaker Ram is potentially getting killed in combat if he sends it into the red zone, but I suspect that Juan Leyva actually values the ability to attack next turn, so perhaps just not going to block at all.
Well, it cuts both ways, because if he gets the Ram off the battlefield, you have some stuff left over, and that stuff can cleanly attack. Mm-hmm. The other way that it breaks is, you know, you just let it through, as you're mentioning, and go wide the next turn. The problem that I have with the latter is if you just take the hit, next turn the attack from the Ram will be lethal. Right. So do you have enough on the battlefield to crack back and win the game? If not, you might have to trade off with the Ram here to ensure that you're not just dead from 2 attacks.
Sure, but the problem is that things like Leon and Vanguard get bigger when it's your turn. Danto Vanguard is similar fashion. When it's attacking, it gets bigger. The History of Benalia Chapter 3 is about to pop off, and you never really want to lose your Banalish Marshal. Looks like the play here from Sasser is going to be Guild Summit for 3 tapped gates. Going to draw 3 cards. Looking for a land to play. I don't believe he had one. He's going to send that Ram up to 8 if he has it. Ooh. Plaza of Harmonies is going to be the play.
Really nice for Sasser there. Needs a little bit of a cushion here to ensure that he survives this turn and gets the leverage whatever he just drew the following turn.
Yeah, I like an attack here with a Gatebreaker Ram. It would clean up some of the stuff, but Drake's going to value the ability to play defense a little more and not really give Juan the ability to gang block and actually get rid of his only real threat at the moment. Chapter 3, History Benalia coming off. Let's see if Juan draws another Banash Marshal. This is a lot of damage coming through. 2 life gain from the Lone Vanguards, and they'll grow. Everything's coming in. 6 power Knights, as well as a bunch of other creatures, all double pump thanks to Banash Marshal.
So let's do a little bit of counting here. 6, 12, 2, 4, 6, 9, 10, 11. I still don't think this is lethal. The question here from Sasser's side is, do I have the luxury of getting one of the marshals off the battlefield, or do I have to block a knight just to save that much?
I'm pretty sure if he blocks Banash Marshal, he's dead. So right now those knight tokens are 6 power because of the History Benalia and 2 Banash Marshals. That's 12. Adonto Vanguard is 5. That's 17. Each of those Leonin Vanguards is 4. That's 25 damage coming through, I think. 12, 17, 21, 25.
Well, if it's 25, then
he's just dead.
Then he can't even block.
Game's over.
Then he can't even blocking the knight doesn't get him anywhere. Yeah.
And Juan Leyva takes it 2-0 after that Banash Marshal off the top.
Wow.
What a huge attack step. Not attacking the turn before, just paying off in spades. Drake Sasser, wish he attacked now.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. I think it kind of pulls in both directions there, the attack versus no attack. But sitting back on the heels there,